Play-by-play voice of Ole Miss, and for the 9th time in his career, named the Mississippi Sports Broadcaster of the Year. DK, congratulations on an award that is well-deserved. I asked these guys earlier, is it still an honor if it's happened 8 times previously? You still get excited about that?
Oh, absolutely. When your peers vote for you, it's always a good thing. I was laughing earlier today. I think when I won the 8th one, I was feeling good about it, and one of the administrators at Ole Miss, I don't remember who it was, maybe Keith Carter, I don't know who it was, but they said 8. I said, yeah, I've won 8. They said, well, that's great, but you've been doing this for 40 years. Couldn't you have won more than 8? And so I guess it's all about perspective, but yeah, it's definitely an honor, and I'm tickled to be working in the state, Richard. As you well know, we got so many talented sports journalists, writers, and broadcasters, and TV reporters, and so it's kind of cool.
And Rick Cleveland's got everybody looking up. He just won his 14th Sports Writer of the Year award. So
he did, and I'm reading. I told Rick I'm reading his book on Boo Ferris, and it's been a while for me to get to it. I kind of rotate through books, and our schedules are so crazy. But I've read a good portion of it, and man, it is really good. Not only his writing, but just the story of Boo in general is really special.
David, I've known you for a really long time. I know you love what you do, but try to describe to people. I mean, you use words for a living to describe things. Try to describe for people kind of the joy that you get out of the job that you do.
Well, I guess it goes back to, being a high school athlete that wasn't good enough to go to the next level. I think I got one offer. Northwest Community College offered me a book, I believe, out of high school to play football over there. That was about it. And, I played multiple sports. In my area, you played a whole bunch of different sports, and then it got kind of streamlined. I don't want this to be too long a story, but because of my interest and love of sports and wanted to stay associated with it, I just kind of gravitated toward listening to people do games and, watching television broadcasts, and I thought, that's something I really think I'd like to do. And of course, I had a theater background. My mother was a professor of theater at Ole Miss, and so I did some theater too, and I was kind of in between really where I wanted to go. But I fell in love with sports and the craft of trying to explain things to others. And I grew up listening to Stan Torgerson, who was outstanding for Ole Miss, and Jack Crystal at State, Jack Eaton in Memphis. Was really, really good doing the Memphis Tigers, and then Jack Buck professionally with the Cardinals. And the more I listened to them paint stories, I thought, that's something I want to do. And so that's kind of how it piqued my interest. And then, as you well know, Richard, we get the best seat in the house. We get to see some incredible athletes do some incredible things, and heck, get paid for it. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. And so it's been a joy to continue to watch sports and SEC sports, particularly through all these years.
David, you love the game of baseball. You always have. There have been a bunch of great moments throughout the course of your career in football and in basketball with, Sugar Bowls, NCAA tournaments. Well, let's go back to last summer. And I don't know if you look at it this way, but was getting to call Ole Miss winning a national championship, was that kind of a crown jewel for you from a career accomplishment standpoint?
Yeah, I think so, Richard. It's got to be number one in what's been a really, really long career and a long run in baseball too. And to get there was incredible. To get to that day and have an opportunity to win the whole thing, do back-to-back in the state of Mississippi was phenomenal in itself. That's another story for State and Ole Miss to win it back-to-back. But I got a couple of calls from some of my peers in the league that said, hey, you may win it all today. Good luck. Have a great broadcast. It just shows you everybody wants to be in that position. Jim Ellis was there a year before, and it's a unique thing. And they said, you got something prepared? You got something you're going to say if you win it? I said, no. If I write something down, I'll screw that up. That's what I've been telling people who've been interviewing me about it. But so I just went in, called it normal, and didn't blow it, and everything was great. But yeah, I mean, it brought me to tears. It really did, because I've spent so many hours covering baseball through the years, seen so many things, and to be able to get to that point. And it's rare. I mean, you think about how tough it is to get to Omaha, and then to win the national championship in any of our sports is pretty difficult. I know the Alabamas of the world make it look easy, but it's really not. It's a special accomplishment, and to be part of it as a broadcaster is really, really cool.
When you think back on big moments, whether it's in your career or games that you've watched, there's like a mental image that you have that like if I say, NCAA tournament, maybe there's a specific game or a specific player that immediately
Right.
kind of pops to the forefront of your mind. When you think back to last year's College World Series and Ole Miss winning the national championship, and maybe even that run, right, from not thinking that the Rebels were going to get in – so they get in, you go to Miami and all the rain, and then Hattiesburg and then Omaha. What's the image that comes to the forefront of your mind?
It was really incredible just to watch it, Richard, from a standpoint of, we're in the middle of the season and struggling like mad. I didn't think we had enough games to even get it solved, and knowing that we had a really good team and Tim Elko's the image that I get. And I know that that sounds like what everybody would point to. But when Tim Elko caught the final out at Southern Mississippi, no big deal, pop up foul territory, I think, and to see his reaction and to know, wow, this guy is going to get to Omaha. I didn't even think about myself. It was kind of wild, but the team was going to get there. But Tim Elko, who came back, who's fought through so much adversity, physically, mentally, trying to be good at the sport that he was exceptional in as a young player in high school and all, to catch that ball and to get to Omaha, that was really, really special. And then just seeing my image of the championship final strike is, watching BJ come in before that series and just seeing the confidence in his body. And, Brad Henderson and I, in the commercial break before, Brad said, DK, here comes BJ. We're fixing to win this thing before he made the first pitch, And so, it's special. But yeah, that you get images, and Rich, you've been associated with a long time. You build friendships and relationships with players and coaches, and you feel for them when things aren't going good. You celebrate with them when things are going well. But you always want them to succeed in some form or fashion, and when it's something special like that, something I'd never experienced before. It was really cool to see those guys overcome the adversity they overcame in the course of that season.
Visiting with David Kellum, who earlier this week was named Mississippi Sports Broadcaster of the Year for the 9th time. I talked with Ben Ingram, who is the radio play-by-play voice for the Atlanta Braves earlier today. Yeah. He was named the Georgia Sportscaster of the Year. He said to tell you congratulations, and he hopes to see you in Winston-Salem at the awards ceremony this summer.
I hope to see Ben too. Ben is super talented.
Yeah, he is.
Does a great job. He's been in our state for a while, and really proud for him, and very, very deserving. And not to belittle, certain areas, but that is a heavy, heavy sportscaster market. And so for him to win in that market and that state is really special, too. I'm happy for Ben, for sure.
David, just a couple of minutes left. I'm curious with the length that you've had in your career and all that you have accomplished. What drives you at this point? What do you still want to accomplish as a broadcaster? What are you trying to do in terms of getting better and still growing even after all these years?
Well, that's a great question. You and I have talked about it personally, Richard. I get to the point of people ask you, so when are you going to retire? It's just mind-boggling to me. When I first started, I was the young kid in the group, went to this meeting with all these unbelievable announcers, John Ward, Jack Crystal, and et cetera, and Larry Munson, and it was intimidating at that point. And now I'm that guy. I'm the one that's been around for forever. So it's but as long as my passion is still there for the preparation part of it, I think people sell that short a little bit. It takes a lot to prepare for games and all, and as long as that's there, and I still have the energy and the love for the sports, I'm going to continue to do it. But the flip side is, I want to have time with my wife. I mean, Mary and I have been on this ride a long, long time, and we deserve some healthy retirement, if you will. And somebody asked the other day, so what does that mean? I said, I don't know if it means a year, 2 years, 3 years, 8 years, whatever, but I'd like to walk away with, I've still got really good health and can enjoy some other things. So many other things in life we enjoy doing and all. So I don't know what the answer is to that, but it's closer than it was, that's for sure. But I really have a strong passion and love being around the sports at this point.
And David, it's been cool to see with your daughters grown, your wife, Mary, who we all know and love, has been able to travel with you more and be a part of more of what you do, kind of on a not necessarily a weekly basis, but when she wants to go, she's able to.
Yeah, and that's really cool. The university's allowed that too. made it really, really neat, and you could kind of going back to your question, you asked about what would I like to accomplish at this point as a broadcaster. I still want to continue to improve. I mean, I think that's an ongoing thing, and I want to continue to, try to present the games better. I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah.
This past football season, I was listening to some of the high school announcers. I do that every year. I try to just scan the dial, listen to some of our high school announcers across the state, and I'll get a tip or two from one of them and say, hey, that's a cool way to call that. If I think back about football, a slant and go is where you run a slant, break it off, and run a go route. And one of these guys this past year called it a sluggo. Now that may be called sluggo by a bunch of different people, but it's kind of the first time I thought about that. I said, hey, that's a cool term. I'm going to have to use sluggo sometime.